basically like I'm a kid of the 80s, and so like I grew up when like R2D2 and C3PO, like they were brand new on the screen, and like it was in the culture all around you, but also not just like in the movies. That also then percolated to like, you know, well, one specific thing is like the toys that you can get like at Radio Shack or something like that. Like you could get little cheap robots that really do nothing. And so there was a certain level of, I was always interested in robots, but slightly frustrated that when I got into my career, there was a moment, maybe this was 2009, where I kind of reminded myself, the kid in me was like, hey, you're not playing with robots, right? And I think I had a hunch that I've got the software career, but for whatever reason, it was something about the phones that was a kind of something that was different in 2007, 2008, 2009, that again, I guess maybe this is like, it'll be a little bit more professional answer. Like my job as a CTO, kind of figuring out where like industry trends are going. And the big thing I kept coming back to is mobile testing is different than browser testing. And I didn't know how, because I think in 2007, 2008, it was obvious that things were different, but it wasn't obvious exactly how everything was going to change. Yeah. And so like by kind of stewing on that question, like a lot of things came out of it. One, me working on robots a lot, but the other one is like Appium came out of that, right? Because like, well, you know, why is Appium needed if there's Selenium? Well, one thing is like mobile testing you have to get this app that you created onto the phone. With Selenium, you didn't have to worry. You just assumed the browser was already on the desktop. We didn't have to worry about taking over the laptop and downloading a browser. That sounds ridiculous to do that. But in a mobile testing context, you have this version of this binary that before you test it, you have to get on the phone. So just one little thing like that came out of it, but it was not an obvious thing on how you're going to set up mobile automation, whatever. Anyway, so one of the things I realized is that mobile testing, because there's so many different sensors, if to do like browser testing or desktop testing, the three things that you need: keyboard, video, mouse, KVM. Those are the three things, really. Mm-hmm. If you had a simulated keyboard, video, mouse, you could put that anywhere. You could put it in the cloud, right? You could put it on a desktop, whatever. Virtual machine, it doesn't matter. But to virtualize a phone is just that much harder of a problem. There's some interactions that you really need to have the real device on a real network to kind of see how these things work. And then where you bring in the robots, and specifically, it's when you have these interactions like over Bluetooth, or your phone is now controlling the lights in your room. You need to have a sensor like wired up to see if the lights actually came on. That was actually literally, you know, a customer. They bought the robot so they could. The thing they were trying to automate was they were like a smart light bulb thing, and so they had the robot doing things, and they had to have on a whole other part of their lab with light sensors to see if the light bulbs came on. Anyway, why robots? There's a lot of reasons. I was going to do it anyway. I was just looking for an excuse. That's what it comes down to.